Hello, Daniel.
Hello, David.
How are you, sir, this evening?
I'm great. I've been busy. How about you?
I've been busy. I'm freaking exhausted. It's been a long day. So, yeah, but this could be
I think we
interesting.
can we can both pretty much assume that the answer to those questions is always going to be, yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, that's legit. Yep. So let's get started here. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Oh yeah, man. This should be the podcast, episode 6, and a string of crappy.
The Photoshop train rolls on.
Nothing stops. Never stops. Nothing ever stops.
Never stops. Never stopping.
Yes, never stopping. Never stopping. Well, yeah, man. Gosh, it's Tuesday, but it feels like a Monday, and Mondays are always exhausting for me. I know that sounds cliched, but it really is. I don't know why. Like I am the tiredest on Monday night when I get home from work on that first day of work. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe because I don't really get weekends anymore. I don't know. I just keep going most of the time.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself being like trying to get done with work as soon as possible on Monday so that I can like take a nap and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I get all messed up and like especially because my weekends tend to be filled up with a lot of like interpersonal interactions. I'm driving to do shows and stuff like that. That it's like I have to recharge from the time that normal people are already recharging, and because I'm kind of an introvert / ambivert kind of person. So,
herbivore. Is that what did I hear that?
They call it ambivert.
I didn't know what that was. What is that? That's why I was joking.
It's like halfway between introvert and extrovert.
Yeah, so like a herbivore.
No, omnivore, like a bear.
Omnivore. Dang it.
Right.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. Yep, I'm mixing my metaphors up in the
Right.
zoology.
There's also
realm.
what they call, like, if you're not an alpha male or a beta male, you're what they call an omega male, which admittedly is a term that sounds way cooler than it actually is. Because I heard that and I was like, well, I want to be an omega male. That sounds awesome.
Omega male.
Like Charlton Heston or something. But it doesn't actually mean that, but whatever.
That's weird. Okay, yeah. That's all weird interpersonal identifiers set aside. I want to see those in your bios instead of your pro. You know, I don't want pronouns. I just want to see those long things that self-proclaimed Huguenot or something. Like what?
I am also an anti-federalist.
Yes, you're definitely an anti-colonialist. I've learned this. This is important to know. Oh yeah. Also, I'm tired because I started this thing where I'm gonna run a 5K for every day this month. So I did that for the last couple of days to ramp up and like make my body not hate myself. So June is gonna try to exercise a lot month. See how things go.
I respect. However, I do not envy it.
It's not that bad. I mean, if you want to get in on it, Dan, I got a whole Facebook page.
I ran a 5K once in 2012.
Yeah?
I survived.
Oh, good. Here you are. That's cool. All right. Well, I'm trying not to ramble too much. I'm tired, so I might be a little rambly. So, back to the graphic. So, this isn't Facebook breaking up. This is my possible breakup with Facebook or social media in general. I went back and I found the Seinfeld clip or just the joke. They're like, when Elaine's like, oh, that's it, I'm breaking up with Putty, it's over. And Jerry's like, you can't just break up like now. It's like when you have to push over a Coke machine, you have to get it rocking back and forth. It's like it never goes over once. It's like, and I don't know why I thought of that. I was just like, that's such a funny analogy. You're like, you don't just break up. It's pushing over a Coke machine. Like, who pushes over a Coke machine?
That's real.
I don't
know. With all of my encyclopedic Seinfeld knowledge, I don't remember that quote, but that's fine.
Nice. I mean, you know what I'm talking about though now, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right, well,
a certain number of people die per year trying to tip over Coke machines.
That's a thing. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's true. No, I mean,
I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I believe that stat.
well, okay. People usually bring that statistic up as an example of like, well, this thing kills people. Should we make a law about that? Right. And so they bring up an absurd example, like people getting trampled by cows, like a certain number of people per year it happens to. So apparently, we think about how many millions of soda machines there are in the country, and there's going to be some doofus being like, "Oh, well, my Cheetos got stuck here," and they're trying to. It has lethal results.
All right, so let me pose the question to you, and you might not have a good answer.
Oh, well, segue.
Go ahead.
Do you have it set to public on your thing so we can get comments if people say anything?
Oh, yes. I'll go double check that. It should be by default, but that doesn't mean it is. So let me check. Things you can't really check until everything goes live.
Yeah, both of those are public.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay.
Oh wait, I didn't comment on the stream itself.
I don't know. I don't want to keep.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Let's hope it goes. Type away. So, what I was just asking. So, is there a redeeming quality to having social media in your life? And I don't say this necessarily on the aggregate. Is it good?
Is this a general you, or are you asking me personally?
I'm going to ask you personally, I guess, or you can go both ways, or either way. I don't know. Whatever way is easier for you to answer.
I mean, I would have to say, on the surface, yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially. Well, here's the thing: is that it's been around since before I really became an adult, right? So all of my adult interactions and dynamics, and all of that has kind of. It's been a constant presence there. Mm-hmm. I would wager, if I had to say the best thing is that I don't see a lot of my friends on a day to day. You know what I mean? Yeah, I suppose with you could text people and be in group chats or whatever, but I like the idea of kind of keeping up with things. I mean, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I see that as a decent benefit.
And it's kind of interesting, from a people watching perspective, right? I don't just scroll through to see who had a baby or who's got the best memes today. I'll see people commenting on news articles, and it's tangentially interesting to kind of know what people think and kind of know what opinions are out there. But as with anything, okay, so you go to the lake and you dip your toe in. Now that's nice. The question is, do you fall in? Mm-hmm. Right? Which I think is probably the topic we're going to get to.
Yeah, I'd imagine we'll get there. The friends thing is cool. I get that. I enjoy that as well. I think I like it more on the you just had a baby thing than the let me see what you think about the current news events angle. But
I go back and forth on the news events thing, but
or it doesn't have to be news events, just or whatever, just thoughts in general. I don't know. So last year, after the BLM riots were rolling, I took a pretty hard break from social media for a while because I didn't like how I was thinking about people I know, just to be frank and honest. It was just too much. There was just too much, man. There were too many people posting too many opinions. And I'm ridiculously opinionated to a fault. And it was just overload for me, if that makes sense. So I was just I can't handle this, man. I need to just take a break. So I didn't delete anything. I just really pulled back pretty hard, and that was good. And I've done that once or twice in my life. And I know lots of people that do that too. They're just I'm taking a sabbatical from social media, or I'm fasting for social media for
But
a year.
you can't just do that. You have to make a dramatic, I am taking a sabbatical,
Well, I mean, do you mean that you have to do a public display of that, or
No, I was just
head,
kind of making a joke about. I'm making a joke about the people who make this public thing. I am taking a break. I'm nobody cares.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, basically.
Right. Yeah. No. Okay. So that point aside, I mean, but at least that's a maybe I benefit of the doubt. People say that just to make it clear to everybody why you're not responding to comments for 6 months. Be like, oh, he hates me now. That's great. You know.
Right. That no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because you can't. There's no like you can't just turn on like an auto response. Be like, Dan is no longer checking his Facebook.
Yeah. Your comment will be addressed in the order in which it was received.
I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, right? I don't think you could do that, but that would be super cool if you could.
You would have to. I think you can set up like an auto reply thing if you're like a page or a business.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Or or just for the first week, you don't actually leave, and then anytime he's like, "Your call is important to us."
Right. So again, that for me though. I have done that. So I'm not going to necessarily do that right now. Although I'm to the point kind of where I wanted to, and like I would get to the point where I it's such a time suck. It's funny you talked about if you like before you were an adult. I mean, I guess social media was around before we were an adult. We're adults. Like
there was like MySpace, but I mean,
a couple ones before that.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have Facebook and social media and all this kind of stuff evolved at the same time I was evolving into an autonomous person. So it's hard for me to unbake that social dynamics out of the cake that is me to know like what would I be like if I was actually 38 in 1985. Who knows, because before we were doing the social media thing, I would hang out on like, music message boards and stuff. I was all and IMing people, basically doing whatever I could to not interact with people face to face, which I didn't quite realize until much later. And I was like, oh yeah, that kind of explains a lot of things about me from my formative years.
No, that's funny though. But like, it's true. It was I guess in that realm. I mean, I always took it and interacted. Like, I guess MySpace and stuff was around college. So, but I just think back and then how much time I have wasted just scrolling around on that stupid thing and debating, reading, watching videos. I mean, it's probably astronomical. It's probably months and months of my life added up that are just me staring at a screen.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
And we like to think that it's whatever we're consuming is something that's of value.
Yes, right.
In some cases it is, like...
Yeah, for sure.
I was organizing the garage today, and I was I found this really cool YouTube channel called Mega Projects. And they just like talk about like, oh, look, here's like the 10 worst bridge disasters and stuff like that. Like kind of like the History Channel kind of stuff. But I've been like, I like to think that I can, if I take an intentional attitude towards it, I can fill my mind with things that are stimulating at least and thought provoking as opposed to just sort of fluff, That
makes sense. Well, being intentional is a smart way to go about it for sure.
But I don't always do that, but
right. Yeah. Like, I don't know, using it as a entertainment source. Like YouTube's a little different because you can watch videos and you can watch stuff and you can listen to shows, you can listen to music. I mean, I listen to podcasts all day and I stream music all day long. I don't consider that the same. Although YouTube is a social media thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got kind of on a tangent, but I guess what I meant was that like, I try to make a conscious effort to unfollow people that do nothing but frustrate me. Right.
I want to circle back on that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and then like, I like to follow like public figures who have interesting things to say, even if I don't necessarily agree with them or whatever. And like, I don't know. The Achilles heel of like my weakness on it, I guess for me is that everybody likes to feel like they're smart. So occasionally I'll like say, because we all have thoughts about stuff. And so I'll like write something and like try to, I guess I find it useful because it's like, all right, if I was giving a group to like a whole town of people, of diverse people, what could I say that would be true to myself, but not be unnecessarily provocative? And so that forces me to kind of think through like, well, okay, how could I say this in a nice way? You know what I mean? And so I find that to be actually kind of a useful life skill, mostly coming from a lot of trial and error, right? Because in previous years where I've just been like, oh, well, here's what I think, 8 paragraphs later. And then you get into the weeds of like a horrible, back and forth where like, nobody changes their mind. But
just a not a pushback, but just a thought that occurred as you're saying that. You're like, well, it's a useful life skill to delineate in your mind how to argue or how to discuss something without offending a ton of people. Of course, you're never in that position in real life. You're never sitting in front of 60 or 70 people going, I'm going to get into a discussion with all of you at the same time. Like you're usually in a one-on-one, and most people don't have the wherewithal, the fortitude, or the just frankly the balls to get into a face-on-face confrontational argument, not argument, even just a conversation, a disagreement with somebody. Like it doesn't happen all that often. I mean, in your day-to-day life, really, where you can be like, I want to talk to you about something. But like a lot of times on the social media platforms, we all put, because it's like you said, you follow celebrities, politicians, you follow people who are influencers of the culture, and you're just willing, you're able to directly talk to them. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Like on Twitter. I mean, Twitter is a better example than like Facebook. You have to be like, connected.
Twitter is one of those things. You remember from The Rock when they were talking about the nerve gas, and Nicolas Cage is like, it's one of those things we wish we could disinvent. That's how I feel about Twitter.
You're not wrong about that.
Because I'm like, even like with Facebook, with just as lowbrow as it can be, at least, I mean, the connectivity of people, like to be able to like see friends and family and stuff. I mean, that's a net benefit to society. But what has Twitter brought anybody, except for the dumbing down and the trailerization of opinions? And all it's good for is just like whipping up anger and mobs. I don't know. I say this never having.
You don't have a Twitter, do you?
No. Hell no.
All right. I like Twitter a lot actually, but I really only use it to follow. Like it's basically a news aggregator for me. I don't have any personal friends. Yeah, I don't follow anybody I know personally. Like I don't really say anything on Twitter. Nobody follows me, so it's just it really is just a news aggregator for me. So it's my own personal echo chamber.
Yeah, well, and then the very
not really. I do follow. Sorry, I do follow a lot of people that aren't aligned with me.
Yeah,
and a lot of ways. So,
well, it feels like it's even Facebook and to a different extent YouTube, which are certainly allow the opportunity of long form thought and discussion, but Twitter, like baked into the very nature of it, is reducing things to their shortest possible number of characters, right?
Yes, so, that's legit. Yep.
Like, yeah, that might work if it's like, a joke or something that's funny, right? Or a very simple idea. But as with many of the things in life right now, they're anything but simple. And so basically the people who are the best at sloganeering are the ones who make the most and so it's like anti-thought. It's like, it's like the death knell of intelligent conversation and actual curiosity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, in a lot of ways it is, for sure.
I was this meme that was all a couple years ago. It was like, if your worldview fits on a sign, think a little harder. But it was funny because it was like a guy holding a sign that said that. And then,
yeah, exactly.
And then the guy next to him was holding up a sign that said, I like turtles. It was stupid.
It's like the line of the Green Day song, the get your philosophy from a bumper sticker. I've loved that line forever. It's such a funny song, or warning.
Yeah.
The song.
But, well, so I guess the next thing I would say is that like I have conflicted feelings because I'm a person, and you are too, who really likes talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so on the surface, a platform that allows you to talk about stuff with dozens, hundreds, millions of people would be like, well, that sounds cool. Except the problem is that like you're talking to people, and people vary, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tool, and all about how you use it, And so I guess it's one of those things where, how they say like, I used to think a lot like the old phrase like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I'm like, I don't really believe that. I think that power reveals, it's not like, because I think the absolute power, that's actually like kind of like a weird Marxist kind of way of looking at things. Like the powerful people are bad because they're up there. Like no, they're bad because they're people, right? And so the poor guy who nobody listens to isn't inherently better, right? It just
Correct.
you don't notice it as much. And so I don't think social media like changed people. I think it just revealed what was inside us all along, which is that we all have the tendency to be opinionated blowhards. So like, but there's other parts to that too, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not particularly revelatory to say that you're hiding behind your computer and your keyboard, and that just makes the blowhardiness easier and the jackassiness easier to come out. The bad stuff comes out easier. It can, or it doesn't have to. It does it for everybody, but it does for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot easier to just go enter.
Right.
And then you get that satisfying, and then you just sit there and you wait. And then you get
go,
a couple of,
"Oh,
couple of
God.
likes
What have I
streaming
done?"
in. And then it's like, so-and-so replied to your comment. And you're like, all right, let's do this. All right, what am I doing? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, I will admit to being like kind of hooked on that rush a little bit, because it feels really
Yeah, I've
cool
been
when
there.
it feels really cool when you own someone. Right. But it really sucks when somebody brings out something and, well, here's a fun question. What sucks more, when somebody owns you, but they're obviously stupid and they're like, well, they're so wrong. I don't even, whatever. Or when somebody owns you and then it turns out, oh yeah, that was actually a really good point. Turns out I was the jerk all along who had the wrong facts in my head. I've had both of those happen.
What's worse? Oh, I don't know. It just depends on the situation, I guess. Your level of commitment to your wrongness beforehand probably has something to do with that. I don't know. I would like to think I cultivate a sense in myself that I'm like, hey, look, I'm just throwing this out there. I like to think that I would be happy and grateful if somebody came up with something and said, yeah, well, actually the facts are actually this, and this. And I'll go, oh, good point. All right. Well, that's cool to know. Glad you told me. I like to think I'd be that mature, but I don't know if I can't promise that. I've had a few of those moments. I think you've probably had a few of those moments. Also, it depends on the tenor. It just depends on the way the conversation's going too. Like, not everyone's necessarily there to politely change your mind, and not that, or we're not always there to politely change someone else's mind. So it comes off one way or the other, depending on the actual conversation, I guess.
Right.
And how useful that part can be. I did want to. You mentioned something too, and I wanted to talk about this. You said something about you unfollow people, or you minimize those people that bring you stress and bring you anxiety, or I'm not using those terms on purpose.
Sort of.
People that bring you aggravation. Like,
well, I don't want. Partially. I mean, I don't want to be. I would be a hypocrite if I just silenced everything. I was like, no, it's just like, I don't want to see any of these opinions that I don't like. I don't want to be that person. But at the same time, there are people like, because I make a lot of friends. I have people who friend me like because they saw me at a show and I don't know who they are or whatever. And then there's like people from college and stuff that I was never really friends with. But that was like when Facebook first started. Anyway, so it's like, but I'm intentional to follow people that I disagree with because I feel like they're smart. And I'm like, all right, there's a potential for me to learn something here. I don't want to shut myself off from that. But there are other people who, they tend to be on the sort of ideological wings. And it's just like everything they do is just like memes and zingers and one-liners. And, that I'm just like, you know what? All this is doing is it's getting me going. And I'm thinking about how I'm going to respond to that all day. And I'm like, I don't need that in my life. I mean, and that even applies to people I agree with, because people that I actually probably share viewpoints with, they'll bring up all this stuff. I'm like, yes, you're right. That is a great point. Now I'm in that mood for the next 4 hours. Yeah, and I'm like, you know what?
That's good.
I don't like that. I'm gonna go to YouTube and not watch politics related stuff, and I'm gonna listen to stuff that's related to like history or music or something.
Right. Well, isn't it funny though? Like, do you like in that instance? So, like, say we'll just use Facebook as the example. You got a Facebook friend, and like you mute them or you hide their whatever in your timeline, whatever that means. You know what I mean? Just so you don't see those. Do you feel like that's just pointless then? Like, why do you keep them on your Facebook page? Like,
it's fewer clicks than unfriending them, I guess.
Oh, is that it is? It's just lazy. This is just easier.
I don't know, but I mean,
I don't know. Do you feel like it would be? Do you feel like it's a polite thing to do to keep some general acquaintance?
Maybe
of yours?
it's vanity. Maybe it's like,
Oh, you
well,
want that-
I don't
you
want
want
to see
that
what
friends list?
they have to say. I want them to see what I have to say. Like,
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh, fair enough. No, I've never thought about it like that. See, I've had that, and I have a few people that have even asked me like, "Well, why do you even keep them on your Facebook?" I was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to be like a dick and just cut them off.
Yeah, because I mean, how often is it that like somebody's crossed your mind and you're like, oh, or like say you see somebody like talking to somebody else that you know, and you're like, oh,
right,
yeah,
right.
what are
That's
they
how
up
it
to? And you
normally
click
goes
on their
down.
name and it says add friend, and you're like,
Oh no, when did that happen? Yeah, you guys,
and it's just like it puts you in this like,
you cut me deep, Joe Bordenaro. He's gonna be the only one who might listen to this later, so that's why I said his name.
that's funny.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, that's a thing, right? Because it's silly, but you also kind of touched on it earlier. Right? Like you got all these old acquaintances or real tangential people you've met in your life, then you're connected to this network. Whereas, and then you get all the inner workings of their life and their mind and their thoughts, and you're like, I don't necessarily want all of that. But then, like, you don't necessarily see them. You don't talk to them. You don't interact with them. They're not part of your circle. They're not part of your friends group. They're not part of your family. Then it's just like, if you hit delete, that's kind of it. Like I mean, you could circle back and find them again, but like, that's the connection. And like what you're saying there is, no, let's not do this. I don't want you in my life, because this is how we are. This is how you're in my life. This is that small little narrow sphere. And if you go, I don't ever want to hear from you, and then you delete them, I don't know. It seems permanent. Does that make sense? Because like when you see that thing where someone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, they took me off their friends list," oh, and then you're like, "Oh wait, we're not really friends. We're just connected on this stupid algorithm page."
Yeah, no, that's
that make
a good
sense?
point. No, you're right. I guess that it depends on, I guess, a person's purpose for using the platform, right? Like the people who are constantly in arguments all the time. It's like, okay, like people who you see and they'll post periodically, they'll be like, cleaning out my friends list. If you see this post, you made the cut. And it's like,
Oh, I love commenting on those. Or the
like,
ones
what?
where they're like, if you disagree with me, just go ahead and take me off your friends list, but don't say anything. And I was like, well, I have to say something now because you threw that ultimatum down. Like that's just,
and it's like, look, a person's free to do what they want to do, right? But it's just like, that's
for sure.
It shows that that's kind of like a low vibrational state that person is living in. Like they're the kind of, it's the same kind of people that are like, the one thing I hate the most is drama. Like the type of person who says that verbally, like, is clearly the type of person who's involved in a lot of drama, right? And if not causing it, stoking the fires of it, stirring the pot, whatever metaphor you want. So it's like,
yep.
there's a low vibrational state to the kind of people who are just like always in arguments, and all they're doing is like, if they're writing like long, but they're like, I'm just gonna leave this here. That's my favorite phrase. Or the people who just like, they take a 5-word sentence and they have to put the clap emoji after each word. It's like that doesn't make your statement any more or less correct. So
my favorite one on Twitter is like, it's just the annoying cadences. It's just like just whatever. Like just in case you didn't know, water is wet. That's it. That's the tweet. And like it ends with "that's it." That's the tweet, as in like you just said something super profound, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna say more." I'm like, "Oh, damn it! That was it. That was the tweet."
Yeah,
you got me there. You got me, son.
Martian archaeologists are gonna like unearth these tablets like 1,000 years from now. And they're gonna wash off the dust, and they're gonna go, "Okay, that's the tweet." Oh, okay. What
do they mean by that?
This was white supremacy? Oh, we didn't know. Okay. Thanks for letting us know in the future.
I see why. I've figuring out acronyms are like my favorite thing now. I'm like, I don't know what the hell. It's like playing the bump or the license plate game. You're like, what are they saying in their license plate? I know what this means, and I'm always wrong until I Google it. I go, oh, that's what that means. I was like, you could just write it out, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. I get that. Shorthand's fun, but oh crap, what were we gonna say? Oh, one more thing. Sorry, one more thing that I hate. just while we're talking about it. And
You
then we
can keep going
get
on
off of
things
that.
you hate. Those are always the best conversations.
Well, it is, but like, like when you're in a discussion with somebody or 20 people, and someone just like drops a link in there, they're like, okay, well, just read this, okay? Like that's what I want you to read. I'm like, I don't want to read it. I'm having a conversation with you. Like, I'm interested in your thoughts. I was like, will you summarize it for me? What do you think about this? And they're like, well, if you're not gonna take the time to read it, then I mean, all the information's right there. If you read it, you would agree with me. You're like, no, that's not how this works. Like, it just drives me crazy. Like, it's like the wiki leak or the wiki drop. Like, here's a Wikipedia page. Go do your research and then come back and talk to me. You're like, oh, okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
then don't talk to that happens. Well, I don't know if that happens a lot anymore. It used to happen in the circles I would discuss things with.
Yeah, and then there's the slightly more intellectual version of that, which is the person who actually does type out the info dump of all this information. But
Sure.
the problem with that I have is that, like, especially with several hot button topics, there are people who, like, if you say something that they perceive to be counter to their viewpoint, they'll go, well, this happened because of, and then they'll talk about whatever it is, and they'll just list a bunch of things, which may be true statements. But the problem is that embedded in the fact that it's just like they assume that the only reason you don't share their interpretation of the world is because you're unaware of the facts. And then you have to go back and be like, no, actually, thank you for that. But we can agree on the same facts, but we just have different interpretations. And that's, I feel like that's something that kind of gets lost, because then you just get people with competing versions, competing facts. And it's a problem. I mean, I guess it's good because at least people are trying to use facts, which is better than the alternative, because most people don't. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, kudos to someone who's going to take the time. I mean, I know you joke because you used to do it, but you got to write like 8 paragraphs. That takes thought and time and a coherent.
Well, I also
framework
I
of
slightly enjoy it because I like. I've always said that, like, any opinion worth having is worth defending. So if I have an opinion that's worth me making a pithy comment about, but I don't care enough, and then if somebody counters it with something that's thought provoking or interesting, if I don't care enough about my opinion, just like I don't care enough to, like, if it's somebody that I know, you know what I mean, or like somebody that, like, I actually kind of value a friendship with, I'm like, well, hey, I mean, discussing some of the most important issues of our time and trying to figure out a way to articulate them that in a way that might convince somebody from the other side. To me, that's almost like that's a worthwhile use of my time. What else am I going to do? I'm just scrolling on cat pictures or something like that. You know what I mean? So I kind of like the mental exercise, because it actually sometimes reveals to me, oh yeah, I haven't really thought that through, because I can't think of a good way to say it. I don't know. Maybe that's
I like the mental exercise. I dig it. I just find it's taxing, and it's harder and harder, it seems, to find people that want to just have that kind of cordial discussion. And then it also sucks because when you're doing it on the public side of it, you get 18 other people that want to just jump in, and it's not helpful. And it's not
the worst
frustrating.
the worst of the people that they act like they're agreeing with you, and then they say something that's like really ridiculous. And it's like, oh gosh, now this person that I was talking to that may be from the other side, I thought I was almost getting somewhere. And then you got to come in here and try to, it's like, because Nancy Pelosi and AOC are just over here trying to destroy America. And I'm like, I need you to not say that.
Stop the steal, Dan. Stop the steal. Yeah, that's good. I don't know, man. So, I mean, it
is exhausting. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe I wouldn't be so, like, what did people, here's a question. What did people do before social media? I mean, did they just, like, everybody argued with their coworkers? You know what I mean? Like, or their family and friends.
Yeah. Christmas and Easter, man, dinner, that kind of thing.
Because I'm trying to think back, like,
I guess coworkers, right?
Somebody from our parents' generation would know more about this than I, or like even our like my sisters, like, because like I didn't have a huge period of development before social media, like, so it's like, you think about like people at a job site, like you run a business, like people talk about stuff when they're working and stuff, but like how often do you get people that are like all working on the same crew that are like, oh, well, we got a pretty diverse group here. We got, well, Steve's a libertarian, and then Joe over here, he's an anarchist, and Susie is a far, you don't have it. Usually people in job circles, it's kind of strange how they tend to like attract ideological groups. You know what I mean? Like if you go to like an inner city social work crew, you're not going to find some MAGA hat wearing, person. So it's like,
yeah, it's funny. Like in my
it's like,
work
have we always had echo chambers, but now the echo chambers have a chance to bump up against each other, and that's what's causing all this? I don't know.
That might be the case, but it was definitely harder and more narrowly defined echo chambers, or they probably weren't echo chambers. Just or maybe if they naturally did come up and you find people that you align with. I don't know, man. I mean, I think people. I don't know. It's like the phrase, like, what is it? Fences make good neighbors. A little mystery here of not knowing what everybody thinks and knows and understands, and that might make for a more cordial society, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's an idealistic thing. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean,
that is.
I don't know. Question. Like in high school, we just drove around and listened to music and ate Taco Bell and did stupid stuff. That was our fun thing, and then we didn't really argue about anything, but we also didn't talk about much either. So
we didn't have much life perspective to really think about arguing about stuff.
No, but then hilariously, that's the thing. So now you can get to arguments with freaking 14-year-olds about political stuff and be like, you just need to. I mean, I'm not here to silence anybody, but maybe just slow your roll and get through puberty before you start lecturing people.
I know a guy who posts stuff, and I was like, I like the dude, but like I was trying to extrapolate, like, what is your perspective on life? Because all I can surmise is that he hates everyone. Like he'll think of this, it's like an anti-Hillary Clinton kind of thing, and then it'll be like an anti-Trump thing, and then it's like an anti-capitalist thing, and then it's an anti-this. I'm like, are you for anything? It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a way to go. You can totally be that guy all the time, but that's also not fun. I don't know.
I mean, it is a microcosm of human, of like interaction. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like, okay, so this might be a whole springboard. This might even be a whole other episode. Maybe we'd bring Jude or something. But like we were talking about like how technology and everything has changed like the dating world. And it's like, there's people who do all these, like they have all these thoughts and opinions about it, especially people who people who have like sort of grown up or come of age since all of the landscape has been different. It's almost like they're in a whole different world than their parents were. Mm-hmm. And I'm of the opinion, like, as I went through sort of a sort of single period, well, like sort of, but like not a very long one, but like, for a few years, where I was like, okay, this is vastly different than it was when I was a teenager. Not that I had a whole lot of experience, but the idea was like,
right.
People would complain a lot. They're like, the dating apps have changed everything. And like, before that, it was like the internet changes everything. It's like now, it's like, but I don't think that it really changed that much, because human beings are still the same people, right? So like in a man-woman context, like the social dynamics of, what makes a man or woman a high-value target, as it were, for other people, whether it's a quality thing, right? If it's somebody like people are looking at and go, oh, that's a good long-term prospect, or like, oh, that's a good short-term prospect. Like those dynamics have always existed. The type of things that are attractive to kind of lowbrow, unevolved people are going to be different than the type of things that are attractive to like presumably intelligent or more, people who are kind of more on their purpose kind of people. That's not anything new. But what the technology has done is it brings that into sharp relief. And so there's like whole swaths of the population that were maybe in denial of those basic human instincts. And technology is like giving us like a clear view. It's like a little window, you know what I mean, into like, this is what people are doing. And it's so undebatable. And they go, wait a minute, that wasn't the fairy tale that I was telling myself about what women wanted or men wanted. And they go, oh, well, okay, sorry. It doesn't reveal anything that has changed. If you're surprised by what it reveals about people, then that just reveals that you were the one living in the fairy tale. So
that's good. That's true.
To bring all that back around, I think social media does a similar thing. You know, it's like social media is making people be tribal about their opinions. It's making them hate anyone who's different. And it's making people just dig into their own opinions when they're challenged.
Right.
I'm like, that's been happening since there were humans. You know, like what planet are you living on? Like we always do that. Right. So, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. It's not the cause. It is definitely a broadcast. It heightens everything for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem though. I still think that's worthwhile knowing and honing in and realizing, you know, in yourself if that's what's happening. You know, it does, and it drives me crazy as I talk about the time suck, and it's still literally like the first thing I do in the morning is I grab my phone and like I hate myself for like 10 seconds. Like I just can't believe I just literally went to this stupid freaking thing just to see what's going on.
Myself today.
It's true. It's so dumb. I was like, I could just like get up and do anything else that's more valuable in the morning than to thumb through Twitter and Facebook, and I don't have anything else but Instagram and all those other ones. It's just so stupid. Yeah, it drives me crazy. So like I'm to the point where you
gotta go go to Instagram and follow just a bunch of like cute puppy accounts.
I've had people say that. Like
I did that a couple times because I made an Instagram for Hector, and pretty much everybody he follows is like pretty much everybody he follows is other dogs. You know, it's just like us. Okay. So and so the Portuguese water dog, or like, you know, various like corgis and whatever, like so and something shepherd-doodles of Orange County. Anyway, so what I did, I tried this a couple times where I switched my Instagram.
Real shepherd-doodles of Orange County. Oh, come on. Sorry.
No, it's something like that. It's like a breeder. Whatever.
I know. I'm just
but the point was that like I tried this a couple times where I went to bed and I switched my Instagram over to his, so that when I opened it up in the morning, all I would see was like puppies like chasing balls and like playing with each other. I'm like, oh, puppies.
All right, that's pretty funny. Oh, what a way to start the day. The world is not a terrible place.
This is what people used to do when they would have like, you know, like calendars that had like, you know, cats on them and stuff. Like,
okay. Well, shameless self-promotion then. Everybody should go check out my Facebook page and follow my 5K a day for a month post. I'm encouraging Dan. Come on, man. Get on this thing. Do something. Go for a run and post your run.
I'll take the dog for a walk.
Yeah, do it. You and Hector, just get out there. It'd be good.
So what's your time on a 5K?
Oh, gosh. I'm like in the low 30s, like 32 minutes, 31 minutes. I used to get it. Like, what do you mean? To what?
What is that? How does that translate into speed? I'm just curious how fast what is it?
Like 6 kilometers an hour, 6K an hour.
Yeah, like it's pretty wild. So, Sidebar. I don't know if I told you about this. So Shayla manages this this TikTok account for this. Eventually, will be an Olympian. She's like a crazy, amazing athlete. She's 12. She runs 17 miles an hour. And so there was this video that she posted the other day, and it went like viral on TikTok. It was like, whoa. And it was like this video of her on a treadmill going like, tuk, 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 tuk. It looked like watching like Terminator when the T-1000 is like running like and he's chasing the cars. I was like, holy crap. It's really impressive. It'll make you not want to run again. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not breaking any records. And I'm sure I look like a complete goofus out there, but you know, it feels good when you're done. So, all right, let's segue to a sillier conversation because
let's do it.
Have we pre-ordered our tickets yet? Are we going to this, Dan? Let's go. Come on.
I saw a trailer for this, and I thought it had already come out. Now, granted, I haven't seen any of the Fast movies since like the first one.
I know it's coming out at the end of the month. There we go. That's the date there. I saw the first one and with mutual friends in high school, and I left going, that was the dumbest thing I've ever watched in my life. And then 15 years later, they're on like number 7. I was like, there's 7 of these movies? I was like, what the hell are they how is this a storyline still? But it's a summer blockbuster. There it is. It's big. So what do you think?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. We don't need to go to that. But I did ask you what the best.
There's an inherent likability to all those people, right?
Those people? Are you sure? No, I disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, what happened? Wasn't The Rock in some of them?
Yeah, probably.
And like Paul Walker and Michelle Rodriguez. I mean, those are people that have a certain amount of a certain amount of charisma.
I'm sure they're fine. I really don't care. It's not my scene. It's not the movie I want to go to. But like summer blockbusters is a fun thing because like you can go to the movies now apparently at some spots. So I asked you what you thought the best year for summer blockbusters was, and you immediately pulled out 2 years, which I knew you would. So tell me about it. Tell me about? Or
Well,
I mean,
okay. I thought and I can't pull it up in front of me, but like
I have a few graphics if you'd like.
89 was a big one, right? You got like Batman, Indiana Jones, like all these.
Yep.
Even movies that weren't like super successful, like The Abyss is one of the greatest movies ever. Dead Poet Society is
Yeah, it really is.
fantastic. And it's like these are all like, I mean, classics in their own way. You know what I mean? Like that was a
Yeah, dude. Uncle Buck. That's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Wow, that's a good movie. That's a lot of movies that come out in the summertime.
you know what they should do? They need to do like an Alamo Drafthouse Film Festival where they just take 1 year and they just do all the movies of that year.
That's cool. That's a cool place.
I would do that.
Then we need some Alamo Draft's House on the coast. That's just
Yeah,
not
you could
around
do
here.
like that. Like, and 1984 was a huge year.
Got that one too. That was good. That was on my list. 1984 was
Yeah.
big. I got a bunch of 80s ones. Not because I was alive. I mean, I was alive, but I wasn't going to movies. But all
Where's
these
the
movies
Terminator? Why is that?
Was that in 84?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a summer release though. It might not have been a summer release.
Oh, good point. But that was a
Yeah,
big one.
these are all summer blockbusters. Which is funny. Like
But the thing
Gremlins
about-
is a summer. Doesn't seem like a
Yeah.
summer movie to me.
Well, it's kind
Go
of good. Well, the idea of the summer movie, the summer blockbuster, is like it's this 4-quadrant appeal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they say, Jaws invented the blockbuster, right? It
Yes.
wasn't the first.
Yep.
It wasn't the first movie to be successful, obviously, because there was like huge hits before that. But it invented this because previous to that, like nobody was releasing movies in the summer. They're like, yeah, no, that's whatever. But because the movie ran so over budget and over schedule, they're like, all right, we'll just dump it in June or May or whatever it came out. And it happened to be this huge thing. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. This movie.
Ooh, that's a model.
Well, they say 4-quadrant, right? So like male, female, young, old.
Mm-hmm.
And so that became this mold. And then it was like, that Spielberg did it multiple times. And then you got like Star Wars. And then everybody's like, all right, well, we got to have a blockbuster. And so occasionally there would be movies from other genres that would do that, right? You might get like a romantic comedy that would be a blockbuster, but it wasn't the norm. They usually would have like, right, or you'd have a movie like Alien or something that was like that was horror, but it still was really successful, or like The Exorcist or something. But like for the most part, what constitutes when people think of blockbusters, it's like movies kind of geared towards like, all right, you can take anybody who's like 10 and up, and it's like it's movies made for kind of like
It's super mass
like
appeal.
Yeah, mass appeal, like, and then which is why eventually that became dominated by superhero movies, because superheroes are inherently enjoyable by a lot. It's bright and colorful enough to appeal to a lot of different kinds of people. But if you put a little bit of depth and some smarts and some history and stuff in there, then smart people can also enjoy it.
Yeah.
But
I think when I was looking around, I landed on, for personal reasons, 1996 or in 97, just because these were good years that I went to see almost, I feel like, most of these movies in the movie theater. Like I definitely saw Independence Day. I saw Mission Impossible. I saw Cable Guy. I saw Twister. I saw The Frighteners, and everything else was like rated R, and I couldn't go. But
yeah,
and those were fun movies. In 97, also like Men in Black, Austin Powers, Lost World, freaking Con Air. Gosh, what else was on there? I thought the Face Off. I didn't see that one in the theater, but that was a fun movie. There's a lot of Fifth Element's awesome too, but like those are just all super just classically. That whole era is. I liked movies around that time.
98 was a big one, but I think that was one of the first years that I like started to go to see movies that I didn't have to have my parents. Like I actually had friends.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
right.
I remember trying. I remember trying to go see Armageddon, and then it was sold out. So we went and saw the X-Files movie, and then I had to explain all of the backstory to my cousin. To me, okay, but sidebar. To me, Armageddon is the ultimate summer blockbuster. Like, because
I'll give you that.
It's just like if aliens came down and they had to be like, why do you put movies in the summer? You go, watch this movie. And you get it. It's huge. It's ridiculous. It's like sentimental, but it's also cynical at the same time. Like
Somehow it makes you like Ben Affleck. It's crazy. You're like, I like Ben Affleck. This is nuts. I can't believe somebody did this.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what about it. It's like it's blue collar, but it's also like sci-fi. I don't know. It's like lightning in a bottle, and the stupidity is part of the fun of it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, dude. Armageddon is a hilariously great movie. It's all good. It's all killer, no filler. That's good.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. Really that is probably the quintessential, at least top 5 blockbuster movies. You got to give Jaws its due.
Well, I mean, Jaws invented it.
Yeah, so I'm giving you that. I don't have enough wherewithal to say which ones are the best. The top 5. There's too many of them.
What's funny is that a lot of the movies on those lists there weren't like big hits.
Probably not. No,
but they're the ones that people remember. I mean, you know, like a movie like Event Horizon.
The first 2 or 3.
Like everybody remembers Event Horizon, but that movie made like $8.
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't think Fifth Element did very well either. That wasn't a huge.
I don't think it did as well as they hoped. It was too weird. It was too weird for American audiences.
This is true. Still,
that movie's awesome though. It's amazing.
Well, I don't actually. I haven't looked around what movies are coming out. I don't really want to see Fast and Furious 9. So, and it's funny. We went to
A Quiet Place 2 just came out.
Oh, okay.
Which I forgot about, but I definitely want to see that. It was great. I think there's a huge variable where you're talking. It's like we've talked about before, the people who never discover new bands after they turn 25, like with the time that you are in life, which a lot of times, you know, the really dramatic events, like I fell in love with that girl, you know, or like, you know, like the type of stuff that's written about in like Bruce Springsteen songs, like that influences how you view, you know what I mean? Like 1998, like I was like, you know, like 15, 16 years old, you know what I mean? Like, and then like, you know, I didn't go to the movies at all in like 2014, you know, because I had a little baby in the house. And it's like, but if you look at the movies that are released in any one year, it's like everybody connects these titles to memory, to where they were. You know what I mean? So I think if you start talking about this, because you and I being the same age is probably not as interesting as it would be if we also had a person who was in their late 40s and then a person who was like 17. You know,
that's fair.
So there's a huge nostalgia factor that connects to it.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't see any movies that I feel like I'll be nostalgic about for a long time. But maybe I would be. I don't know. We'll see. I might go to a movie this summer. There's something that
I've seen a lot of movies recently that I thought were fantastic. That, you know, I'll look back on and be like,
in the theaters? Not in the theaters though, right? You haven't gone
not like this year necessarily. I mean, like in the last few years, I mean, that I thought were like legitimately great movies. Like I remember getting a group, but is this movie great? And then do I have a great memory of this movie? Yeah. Right. Like I've had movies that weren't great. Like I remember I saw The Predator, which was an objectively horrible movie in pretty much every way. I had a great time watching it because I was there with like some buddies and we were hanging out. And then about halfway through, when we all realized that it was a piece of shit, we were like, oh, this is okay. We're all on the same page, right? Okay, great. Okay. So then we were all just like, we were all talking crap about it, but like, you know, that was fun. But I feel like a lot of people, maybe they don't make that distinction, right? So, oh, that was a great movie. What are you talking about? And it's like, well, you know, it's because you went to that movie with your first crush and then you gave her a kiss and you had popcorn and you went to mini golf afterwards. Like that movie could be like anything and you would remember it fondly.
Oh, popcorn and kisses. So
but
nice.
If you could go see a great movie, like, I don't know, pick a great movie. And if you go there and you have a horrible time and somebody, you know, some baby crying, you're on a date with somebody you hate. I mean, it doesn't matter how good that movie is. You're not going to remember it fondly, you know?
Yeah. Hey, before we sign off, we actually have an organic comment that came up here. We should interact with that real quick. It's very long though. Was that a guitar? Oh. Nope. I might have hit the mic. That might have been me. I don't know.
The positive thing about social media and technology in general, it makes the niche known. This has pros and cons. Previously, you couldn't find your tribe, so you had to compromise with others who didn't view the world the way you did. Obviously, good and bad items here. If you were into something obscure, you were alone. You couldn't find other cottagecore anime fans or Chinese science fiction fans in your rural county of residence. It was much more difficult to find a broader spectrum.
Yes,
That is very accurate.
that is very true.
And I would say, actually, that reminds me of something I was thinking about, but it didn't make its way to the surface of my consciousness. Like a lot of what I tend to, I know like musician people. So like I'll go play shows and I'll make friends with like other people in other bands. And I like seeing like, oh, that guy's playing there. Oh, that's cool. And they'll post like live clips of like them doing stuff. But it's like, it's kind of cool because I know that person, or like I've discovered like, like musicians that I like, and then they'll post clips of like other people that they know. I'm like, oh, I've discovered new bands. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
that's like maybe that's the good version.
Yeah. That is a disgustingly painful truth in my mind that we grew up playing music without the internet. Like this type of internet where you could literally find a million bands, you could hook up with people, you could connect, you could network, you could learn things. And we just had to drive around in a crappy van and hopefully play with some band that we sent a demo to and be like, do you guys like this? You want to hear it?
Yeah, I think about like, teaching ourselves to, because you didn't take lessons, I didn't take lessons, like teaching ourselves to play instruments just by like randomly watching people on TV. Like, I guess you do this, right? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like the amount of amazing instructional stuff that's,
Yeah, so that is cool. Like finding being part of a culture or a niche group that you can connect to. That is definitely a positive thing.
Like I'm part of a Facebook group that's just for like V6 Dodge Charger owners. Now, what's hilarious about that is that like it's mostly just like people post pictures of their cars, they do stuff, and they're like, "Hey, I added a spoiler. Check this out." And everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool, man!" And it's like kind of like a positive vibe or whatever. But like the funny part about it is that like the dark underbelly is in the name because it's specifically for V6 Charger owners. Because you can't just have a group for Charger owners because there's V6 and V8 groups and people that inevitably humans will find something to argue about. So and I found this out, that the backstory of the whole reason the group started was because the regular Charger enthusiast group, just every thread turned into fighting. Why didn't you get a Hemi, man? Why did you get the RT, man? It's just like everybody just dick measuring, and it just turned into this ridiculous. So even in the most positive of groups, there's people are going to be people.
Hey, man, in my perfect world, when I am the dictator, all the V8 Charger people are the first people in the wood chipper. That's just how it goes. I can't abide that. You gotta cleanse society, man. You gotta clean the ranks.
Those V8 cars are great, though.
I'm sure they are. I follow
They just eat a lot of gas.
Well, yeah, they're monsters. So that's the thing. If that's what you like, but hey, good for you. But I follow a pizza cooking group things. I just bought a outdoor pizza oven. So I'm trying to learn how to make pizza like from scratch, like Neapolitan style pizza. So that's been pretty helpful. I haven't talked to anybody on it yet, but I could. They seem very nice. I just haven't done it. So
that's great.
But either way, it's cool. I mean, you see tips and recipes and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty standard stuff, but it's pretty funny. So Derek's point is accurate. Hope for humanity restored. Thank you, Derek Brown.
Well, I mean, look, all of this stuff is a tool like anything else, So when they invented the car, they're like, this is the worst thing, right? Well, it takes a skill to use it responsibly, right? And like, when did humans invent booze? I mean, that was thousands of years ago. But like, we keep inventing new types of booze, and then we keep inventing different kinds of drugs. It's like all of that stuff is just more power responsibility stuff that we just have to be mature about.
That's good. You should land it there because we're coming up on an hour, and I'm freaking
There we
exhausted.
go. This is the tweet.
I hate you.